Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. What I've got today is a video showing guys the one-man army build for PvE. Now first of all, I do want to say I would recommend using this build for PvE only. If you guys want to see something like this for PvP, let me know. If you are new, if you're coming back to the game and you want some build guides for PvP, let me know. I'm more than happy to make some videos for you guys as well, but this one's going to be for PvE. This is a build I've been using for some underground, some legendary missions and incursions, and this is a very easy build to make. It is not a 6-piece classified that most people kind of make videos on. It's a really simple and easy build to make, and this is, in my opinion, the one-man army build for PvE if you don't have, that much gear, that much kind of playtime on the game to have the best gear and the best overall items that you can get. So I want to show you guys this build. As I said, if you want a lot of damage, a lot of skill power, a lot of health, this build is for you. So without further ado, let's get right into this. So what I'm talking about is this. Now yes, this is a Ninja backpack build with a 3-piece sentry, 2-piece tactician, and a MDR. If you guys are new to the game, as I said, and you're missing the MDR, I would recommend doing something like the DZ landmarks. They're pretty easy, they're really fast, and you have a really good chance of getting exotics. If you guys have watched my streams in the past or my videos, you guys know I always get the MDR from those landmarks. I don't know why, but in the higher DZs, when I do the landmarks, it always drops for me, and I know it's pretty weird. Maybe it's just my luck, maybe it's going to be a little bit different for you, but if you don't have it and you want a good chance of getting it, try those out. So really quickly, the first thing I do want to show you guys is the weapon and what I'm using on it. So yes, it is the MDR. This is pretty much your main source of damage. As long as you can hit headshots with this weapon, you're going to be doing an insane amount of damage, and keep in mind with a sentry build, you have to be using a semi-automatic weapon, so something like the Lightweight 4 or LVOAC or the house is not going to work with this build. It's not going to be giving out its full potential with the stacks. Again, you have to be using a single fire weapon in order to stack your shots. So for the talents, I'm using Unforgiving, Brutal, and Distracted. Now Distracted is really cool with this build, especially if you use a flame turret like I'm using. It's pretty much going to give you a 18% extra damage whenever the target has a status effect. So if you're using something like the shock turret or a flame turret, that extra damage is going to help you out and make you do even more damage to the NPCs. Now for the weapon mods, I'm using everything with headshot damage and critical hit damage and critical hit chance. So as you guys can see, my mag is almost maxed out, my scope is a headshot damage, my muzzle brake is a headshot damage as well, and then my grip is again into critical hit damage. With the MDR, you guys can go into critical hit damage, but with this build, you're going to be going for headshots anyway, so you might as well just spec a bit more into headshot damage and get the damage kind of output like that. For my secondary, I am using the house, and I really wanted something that I could just kind of whip out and spray and not really worry about going for headshots. So the house, the next best option. If you guys don't have it, you can use something like the PP19, the AUG, or the MP5, something like that. It's something that you don't really have to worry too much about hitting headshots. You could just spray the body and kill them pretty quickly. So that is the reason I'm using the house, and what I have on it is Deadly, Unforgiving, and then I inspect everything into critical hit damage. Alright, so moving on to the main part of the video, and that is the gear. So the first thing I do want to show you guys are the gear mods. So for my chest piece, the first thing I'm using is 2 stamina and skill power mods. With this build, I do want to have a bit more stamina on this. I was using this before with all electronics and skill power mods, and I did find that my tankiness and kind of my health was a little bit too low. I was getting hurt a lot by the NPCs, and you guys know in like underground legendary missions, the NPCs hit pretty hard, and I don't know, I wanted to have a bit more stamina. Although you guys can probably use something a little bit different on here, use like crit chance and firearms or crit chance and electronics mods. It's really up to you, but for me, 5700 stamina is working pretty much perfect now, and I'm also using the skill power obviously for a bit more healing out of my abilities and stuff like that. So again, you can change them up, you can use whatever you want, it's personal preference. Moving down, for the mask, the knee pads, and the backpack, I'm using everything with electronics and skill haste. This build does have 49% skill haste, so you get your skills pretty quickly. It's not at 50% unfortunately, but it's still very good, and you still get your skills very, very fast. And last but not least, for the performance mods, I'm using everything with first aid self-heals. Obviously, for PvE, you want your healing to be very good, so that is the main reason why I'm using first aid self-heals. Anyways, getting into the gear rolls, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the chest piece. So what I'm using on it is stamina, health, skill haste, ammo capacity. Pretty simple. You obviously want skill haste with this build. You obviously want stamina and health, and ammo capacity is really useful as well. Moving down for the mask, I'm using firearms, skill power, damage to leads. Nothing really too special here. For the knee pads, I'm using electronics, health, burn resistance, damage to leads, and blind/death resistance. For the backpack, I'm using stamina, health, and burn resistance. For the gloves, I'm rocking with firearms, skill haste, critical hit damage, also rifle damage. And last but not least, for the holster, I'm using skill haste once again. So yeah, that is pretty much it for my gear. This is pretty much what I have rolled on them. As I said, it is a main kind of balance of everything. I do have a lot of skill haste, I have a lot of critical hit damage, a lot of stamina and stuff like that. So if you want to try this build out, let me know how it works out for you. The next thing I do want to show you guys are the character stats. I know everyone's always curious about this when I make a build video. So the first thing we have is the weapon damage. I'm sitting at 48,000, almost 49,000. 9% critical hit chance, which isn't the best, but you know, it is what it is. 73% critical hit damage and 154% headshot damage. Also 30% accuracy and 2% stability, which kind of doesn't matter, but you know, the accuracy is always good to have on your build. Next up, we have the max health. I'm sitting at 328,000. This honestly can be a little bit higher if you spec a little bit more to stamina, but for me, as I said in the beginning, it works kind of perfect. It's not too squishy, it's not too tanky, and you know, with you getting your heals back in like 20 seconds and stuff like that, it's not as bad as it seems. But you know, you can always change it up depending on your playstyle. Last but not least, I'm sitting at 49% skill haste, and this is very, very important with this build, since you don't really have any self-healing like with Nomad or a 6-piece classified striker like the self-healing in general. You really rely on your skills like your first aid, or if you want to use a support station, kind of for your healing, as well with your medkit. So definitely spec into the skill haste, make sure you have a lot of it so you can get your skills back in like 20 seconds and, you know, be a little bit more tanky with them and survive a little bit longer. The last thing I do want to show you guys are my abilities. So the first thing I'm using is a first aid, which is the overdose. I'm actually getting 190,000 self-healing from it. It's not the best, it's not the craziest amount, but it's pretty good. It's going to heal you a little bit. So you know, if you want to go a little bit higher in it, obviously go spec a bit more into electronics and skill power, and you can get this even higher. The next thing I'm using is a fire chart, and this pretty much has like 3 purposes of me using it. So the first one is crowd control. If I'm doing legendary missions by myself or the underground, I want to put this down. I want to make sure the NPCs don't rush me and overwhelm me. The second one is obviously for damage. I'm getting extra damage from the fire chart itself, and also I'm getting extra damage from the MDR whenever they are on fire. I'm getting obviously the 18% I showed you guys earlier, which is pretty good. And lastly, I'm using this for kind of easy headshots whenever they are on fire. They're kind of like standing still, so I can have easy headshots, stack my shots and do a lot more damage and kill them pretty fast if I can actually hit my shots. So that's the 3 purposes of it. You guys can use something else like the flashbang or immune station or life support station, whatever you want to use, but for me, this kind of works out the best. And last but not least, for the talents, I'm using critical save, strike back, precision, and on the move. So yeah, that is pretty much it for the video. That is pretty much it for the build. Like I said, if you want to try out a one-man army kind of build, try this out. Let me know how you like it. Let me know how it does for you. You know, obviously it might have a different kind of playstyle and effect on you than it does for me, but for me it works out really, really good, especially if I'm doing like legendaries or the underground or sometimes even incursions. This build helps me out a lot. And if you don't have 6-piece classifieds, if you don't have anything like that, this can be your next best option and help you get through those tough missions. But anyways, that's it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I'll respond to all my comments. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Trap house.